Hello everybody on Facebook. Happy Wellbeing Wednesday. Hope you're all doing well. Hello and welcome to everybody watching on Catch Up on YouTube as well. Nice to have you with me. I've got Betty in the house today over on Facebook. Hi Betty, how are you? Those of you who are regulars will know that one of my team always looks after the community on Facebook and is able to put links up to things that I talk about, so it makes Facebook is very accessible. Actually, it's very easy to click. So if I talk about things, discount codes or links to articles or features or whatever, then Betty is the one who will put that up. So thank you, my love, for doing that. Obviously we can't do that on Instagram, but we do have this little thing called Linktree. So if you go to the bio of the Earle Wellbeing page on Instagram, that's the main kind of little home bit. You'll see if you click on that, lots of links will open up. And of course, you can always go to the website. So lizarwellbeing.com. There's a special section there called Liz Loves, which is always worth checking in, actually, and taking a little look, because my team are brilliant and they managed to find so many discounts and special offers, and they pop them up on the Liz Loves page. So if you've missed anything, and you're not sure about it, or you wonder, is a discount code still valid, for example, then go there and have a look. And in fact, having said that, reminded me, because I can see on Facebook here, I can see more of my flowers because I'm shooting in, I have to do this kind of, I think, to let you all see on Instagram. Facebook shoots in landscape, whereas Instagram is in portraits, so you do get a kind of a different view of things. But these lovely flowers, I just received them in the studios yesterday. They came with a little card, actually. Let me just grab that. From two of my favourite people at the Real Flower Company, Daisy and Roseby. And they said, "Hi, we hope you enjoy this fresh from the farm English flower box." Isn't that great? So I know lots of you love the Real Flower Company. I love them. They grow in England, and these are all English, and they are just great kind of botanicals. We've got hydrangeas, we've got sweet smelling herbs, we've got some berries in here. I don't know if you can see the kind of the autumnal feel, little seed pods and all sorts. So thank you very much to Roseby and to Daisy for sending me that. Isn't it great? Isn't it funny how people often have names associated with their jobs? So Daisy, obviously, works for the Real Flower Company. I mean, why wouldn't she? And this is absolutely true. My local dental hygienist was called Miss Fillingham. I absolutely swear to you, Miss Fillingham. Can you imagine? I mean, you can't make it up, can you? You just can't make it up. I remember going to interview a really well-known professor years ago when I was doing some research into skin absorption, and he was a skin and kind of dermal transplant specialist, and his name was Professor Hadgraft. And he specialises in skin grafting. I mean, and his name was Hadgraft. I mean, your dentist is called Dr. Cap. I mean, it's just... anyway, yeah, keep them coming. Love them, love them, love them. Well, we are going to hopefully be talking to somebody who is new and fresh and bold, because his name is Chris Newbold, and he is the head of nutrition strategy at a company that I really like, and I'm so pleased that we have just got them onto the Liz Loves programme. They are called BioCare, and you find them in really good pharmacies and chemists and nutritional suppliers. This is their packaging. You may have seen it, BioCare. I have always rated them. I've known about this brand for quite a long time. I've never actually connected one-to-one, so I'm really excited about doing this because I know they've got some really interesting things. And they've also got things that Lily in particular has been finding really helpful, because as you know, she's got... Your dentist was called Dr. Nurse. Yeah, I mean, that's just mad, isn't it? What? Your funeral director is called Grimditch. So Lily has in particular been talking on her Instagram and talking about slippery elm, because that is a digestive supplement that can be very soothing if you've got irritated gut issues, and because of her autoimmune issues, a lot of that comes from the gut. So we're going to be talking about that, about slippery elm, which I'm really excited about because I don't know very much about it. And then they also make these other really interesting things, like this is a polyzyme forte. So this is an enzyme complex, and I want to know more about enzymes and digestive health because I know that they can be super helpful as well. And this is they call it a GI complex, and it contains L-glutamine and nucleotides with live bacteria to support gut membrane and immunity. And this has got zinc and alpha-lipoic acid and acidophilus and all sorts. Really fascinating stuff. So we do have a 15% Liz Loves affiliate discount code on everything at BioCare. So if you're staying tuned and listening and want to dive into that, then do please go and have a look. So let us see whether we have got Chris in the house. Yes, I think we do. So hopefully, yeah, Lorna, you love their probiotics. Yeah, I think they're a really excellent company. So I am looking forward to finding out more about it. Now I have accepted BioCare, and it says BioCare has joined. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Liz.
How are you doing?
I'm doing okay, thanks, after that slight pause there.
Good.
But I'm all here.
You're all here. Excellent. I'm going to make sure that my volume is turned up really loud. Now, just so that you know, my lovely friends on Facebook and YouTube can't see you, but they can hear you. So anything that we talk about that you need to show, I can show or demonstrate, obviously within reason. And then obviously we have you in vision for Instagram. So, do you know, I was really interested when I read your background. You have a background in healthcare with the NHS before moving into, you know, really kind of cutting edge nutritional supplements. So what was your journey?
Yeah, I've always been into healthcare as a healthcare professional, and always actually as a therapist. So I used to be a speech and language therapist, and I work with kids, adults, across a whole range of different disciplines, quite a lot of experience. Like a lot of people, I had my own health issues and around energy and digestion a bit, which is fairly common.
Yeah.
So I decided to look into it more, and that's when I retrained in nutrition and nutritional therapy. I'm really interested in how diet, lifestyle, supplements can health, and that's why I'm here working for BioCare doing one.
And you do a lot of education and lecturing now as well, don't you, to help others kind of get up to speed with what we need to know?
Sure, yeah. Well, BioCare, very kind of science-based company founded by someone who was interested in his own health and started on his own health journey as well. So it kind of attracts people like me who kind of really want to know and understand about people's health, and then to educate others as well. So I do a lot of educating in the colleges and lots of talks, and we do lots of videos online too.
Great. You know, I have to say, you know, BioCare is just one of those companies that I've known about. I don't know how long it's been going. You'll have to let us know a little bit about that. But it's such a trusted brand. And whenever I've gone to really quite clinical functional medicine doctors or people who are, you know, at the top of their game in terms of nutritional therapy, they will always say, actually, if you want the supplement that's really going to work, I really recommend that you get the BioCare version of whatever it is. And that's an amazing reputation to have, I think, because there are so many companies now out there. But, you know, when was the company founded?
Yeah, we've been running for like over 30 years now. So, and interestingly on that point, sort of right at the beginning of all of that thinking about how nutrition in particular, thought of in a particular way, can really... So we've been there as sort of pioneers from the very beginning, and that's probably why, as you say, when you find an expert, they seem to know about BioCare and to trust us and use us. Yeah. And we've all bought BioCare for a reason. The care is really important to us. It's not just about the pathway, and we really care about finding kind of human solutions that really work for people. I'm just picking up a comment here actually, which I'll share with people on Facebook who can't see it. Somebody here has said, best supplement company I've ever used, and the support and customer product care is second to none in my experience. So that absolutely plays out to what you're saying about the care part of the BioCare. Brilliant. Yes, exactly. I mean, we put a lot of effort behind having experts on the ends of the phone and on chat and mail. Science and the understanding of what makes people tick, and how our products, and not just our products, but also the lifestyle advice that we can give as well. Yeah. Our main aim is to just make people healthy, to make people better. That's what we care about. And so much that I'm seeing now from, you know, my social media and the comments and the things that we talk about here is coming back to gut health.
And, you know, I talk a lot about gut health and about, you know, eating well and having probiotics and all of that. But I think there are so many digestive issues that people are really struggling with these days, revved up by stress and anxiety, you know, causing inflammation. What are the key things that we can look at? I think there are kind of maybe three areas that I'd like to talk about. One is the enzymes, because I really don't understand very much about enzymes. I'd love to talk to you about that. This looks extraordinary, this GI complex. I mean, wow, that's all singing, all dancing, isn't it? And then I'd love to have a chat with you, if we can, just about slippery elm and kind of some of the herbal sides of things as well. So what would you like to kick off with?
Sure. Well, on your first point, yeah, I mean, both from a diagnostic point of view with doctors, gut issues are huge. And certain medications like proton pump inhibitors to suppress acid are massively prescribed for people who are experiencing discomfort when they're eating. So that's almost epidemic, really. And then on a more human level as well, I think a lot of people experience a variety of gut issues, don't digest very well, know that this is so important for their health in terms of supporting their nutrition, supporting their bodies. So we know that we get everything, we're made out of food, we get everything from food, and it's really important that we have good quality food, of course, unprocessed food, whole food, and that we break that down really well so that we can use it, because everything that our body does is made from those nutrients. So at a very human level as well, I think gut problems are a real issue, and it's what a lot of people, nutritional practitioner, about. It's that alongside energy problems, it's one of the key issues.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of enzymes, are they then some of the key things? You talk about breaking down food to get the right nutrients. Is that an enzymatic thing that happens in the gut?
Yeah, so we have this brilliant system actually that we've evolved to do, which breaks down everything that we consume and also deals with some of the things and some of the nasties in food as well. We have these very complicated chemicals that we just naturally produce in our mouths, in our guts, called enzymes, and their job is to break down things like proteins, starches, fats. If we don't do that very well, then there's a couple of consequences. Firstly, we don't get the nutrients, and we need the nutrients to make our hormones. Yeah. We need the antioxidants, we need all the good stuff from that great diet that we're eating. And secondly, that sort of leftover stuff then that doesn't get digested very well can kind of ferment. Then we have problems with our gut bacteria, and then we might have a problem, as you alluded to, where things get inflamed, and perhaps the health of people, which is doing so many complicated jobs, doesn't work very well. So enzymes is kind of where it all starts in the digestive process, and in a way, if we want to fix anything, we want to fix things at an earlier stage. Mm-hmm. And if we digest our foods as effectively as possible, then it can solve a lot of problems that then might happen later on.
I know that my father, who's in his 80s, and he doesn't mind me sharing this, had a nutritional consultation not long ago, and you know, one of the things that came out of it was that he would be better off to get better digestion and less issues with indigestion and kind of discomfort using enzymes. And it just seemed to be such a safe, simple thing. I mean, these are, for example, this contains bromelain, which I know is an enzyme that we find in things like pineapple, isn't it? Which can help to break down things in the stomach.
Exactly, yes. I mean, you know, we naturally produce these things. They're completely natural to the body. You're supposed to have a system. So that's, as you say, that's what's so great about them. There can be nothing more natural than taking what you're supposed to have in your digestive system and putting the bromelain.
So who would benefit then from a broad spectrum enzyme complex like this?
I think anyone who thinks that they're not digesting very well, that they need support in that area, because they do. So burping, you know, and the signs of that are things like burping, bloating, flatulence, perhaps undigested food in stools, those kind. So, you know, indigestion, I suppose we call it, don't we? Indigestion,
isn't it? It's like it's showing that there's a block with your digestion. This is really interesting. This has got really some quite, you know, healthy quantities of enzymes here: bromelain, lipase, protease, amylase, lactase, lactobacillus acidophilus, maltase, and sucrase. So this is a real complex then of the kind of things that our gut would normally have in it.
Exactly, yeah. So, we need to break down the amylases for carbohydrates, and then when we break carbohydrates down, we get other what are called disaccharides, slightly smaller but not small enough molecules. And then you have things like maltase and sucrase that work on the very, very simplest of sugars. So it's really, we have a comprehensive enzyme that has everything in it to take those foods down to absolutely where they need to be, so that they don't cause any issues with the gut, or they don't cause the bacteria maybe to ferment them in ways that we don't want.
Really fascinating. And so it says here the daily intake is 3 capsules. Would you take that then before a meal? Is that the idea, to give your body the enzymes before you start to process the food?
Exactly, yes. They are taken with a meal. So it doesn't really matter hugely whether it's just before, during, or if you forget, just after. The quicker they'll start to work and help you. But if you forget, and I often do, then you can take one sort of just after. And it's really great when you're feeling full and really bloated. Taking 1 or 2 of these can really help to just lift that bloated feeling.
That's really interesting, because sometimes with a really heavy meal, particularly a carb heavy meal, I will feel quite bloated and quite sluggish. So for me, although I don't think I've got a genuine daily problem with things like indigestion, occasionally I might benefit. So if I had these with me, if I knew I was going out for a big dinner or something, would this be helpful for me to take then before sitting down to eat?
Yeah, exactly, possibly. So even if you're not experiencing any specific issue, help to add to the digestive enzymes that you've already got. It's that simple. We're giving digestive enzymes to increase the ability of the enzymes to do what they do to break those foods down.
Yeah. Somebody's asked a question about lactose intolerance, but this is lactase, which is different, isn't it?
Exactly. We get asked that question a lot. Lactase that helps you, and lactase is the enzyme that you're missing, but there's obviously only one vowel difference. So
but a key difference. And actually, for those who are lactose intolerant, having some of these enzymes can be extra helpful, can't they?
Yeah, you're putting in the lactase enzyme that you're not producing as much of. So hopefully you get fewer issues. Yeah.
And then histamine intolerance. Can you take enzymes with that? I don't see any reason why you wouldn't be able to.
Absolutely fine. Yeah, if you've got that kind of an issue.
Yeah, and quite potentially quite helpful too. I mean, I think it's always with these kind of things, it's worth bearing in mind. It's a bit like when I talk about hormone replacement. These are not drugs. They're not synthetic medications that are going to come in and start to work in an opposite way to the body. This is what you normally have in your body, but somehow, whether it's because of genetic variances or an overload of a certain type of food or the way our bodies are working or the slowdown as we age, we just don't make sufficient to help the body to cope. I mean, would that be the right way of kind of saying it? I mean, that's why they are food supplements. They are in addition to foods. They're not separate medications that are going to interfere with anything else.
Exactly right, yeah. And these are generally safe. There's just one caution, because the protein enzymes, you're made of protein, is if you duration or, soreness perhaps in the stomach or the digestive system, then be very cautious about taking them. Of course, talk to your doctor. But otherwise, they're safe to take for exactly the reasons you've said. And just another reason as well, Liz, on top of what you said, is often we're overloading our digestive systems in ways that our enzymes perhaps need support with. So we might not have a problem as such, but if we're eating on the go, or we're eating too much food or too rich food, the stress scenario you talked about earlier, that might...
Stress and food, definitely. And probiotics, there was a question there about taking probiotics as well, which I know a lot of people do, especially in this community, and look after their guts. Presumably they work synergistically together. They don't counteract each other.
Exactly, yeah. There's no sort of incompatibility there. They're both supposed to exist in your gut. The better your microbiome is likely to be as well.
Yeah.
For all the earlier. gives the right sort of conditions in the garden for the right bacteria to flourish.
Yeah, nice. I'm definitely going to be trying these. I've got a couple of big meals coming up, but I'm also going to get my father trying these as well, because I think he could really do with a little bit of help with digestion. He's actually been really helped. I mean, he loves his sandwiches and toast and all of that, and I found that he was a lot better on sourdough bread.
Yeah.
And just that simple switch actually really helped with digestive issues.
It's a similar principle, actually, interestingly, because in some of those more fermented foods, some of the difficult to break down proteins are more broken down by the process. Using sourdough, you've actually got a more fermented product that some people do find easier.
Yeah, interesting. There's a bit of chat going on Instagram here about inflammation of the stomach, and that's something that I'd like to come on to. I mean, my poor Lily, with her autoimmune issue, and she's been on very high strength painkillers for a long time, which have really disrupted the lining of her stomach and caused her a lot of real nasty pain and stomach ulcers, and I know that that's a common thing for many people. So she was recommended slippery elm. So this is just such a time-tested. I mean, I remember reading Culpepper, talking about slippery elm. I mean, what exactly is it to start with, and what can it help with?
Sure, it's a bark from a particular tree.
Literally, so again, from the elm tree, is that right?
That's right, yeah. And beautifully evocative name that kind of tells you about how it works. And it's the inner bark in particular, just to reassure people, rather than the outer bark, which might be a bit strange, but it's used herbally sometimes. Yeah. But the inner bark, if you can imagine what happens when you strip the outside of a plant wall away on a stem or a bark, you get that lovely kind of slippery, literally slippery.
Like a sap.
Like a sap, yeah, almost like a spongy version. And what that does is a couple of things. It's very soothing. So when you get burning discomfort type sensations, perhaps which are quite common, it can really soothe that down and help to make that subside. And secondly, what's really important, one of the ways it works is that we have our natural protection on what's called our mucous membrane, the sort of skin inside our gut. Which isn't as nice a thing to think about, but absolutely.
But mucus is really helpful in the gut, isn't it? We need our gut mucus.
Absolutely, and it acts as a layer. It's very supportive of the microbiome, those good bacteria, and it protects us. It stops us digesting ourselves, which is really helpful.
Yes.
And it means that we don't get those kind of abrasions in the gut. So what you're doing by taking slippery elm powder is you're using that kind of slippery, spongy kind of property to increase the mucus in the gut and to soothe the whole digestive tract. And because this is a powder from the throat down as well, you can get similar in capsules.
Yeah.
Slippery elm powder, it's great for sort of coating the whole tract from the throat downwards.
Gosh, how nice. So anybody who's really feeling that their gut is inflamed, I mean, for things like stomach ulcers and that kind of thing, would it be good for that, do you think?
Anything where there's a need for soothing or for support, supporting the mucus, and in cases like when people have got those kinds of abrasions, then there's often a lack of mucus. So if we can support the mucus and support it using this soothing mechanism, then that could be a benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. And people are far more likely, I think, to be mucus deficient with the types of diets and lifestyles that we lead. And I know that Lily in particular, has really benefited from that. And this, which I think is so interesting, the slippery elm, which this is a capsule form because it comes with other things. It's come with marshmallow. And I remember actually, researching beauty ingredients, looking at marshmallow. And marshmallow, I think, has these just sort of, are they called mucilage? Which is the sort of the slightly, almost sort of slippery gel-like substances that that again are just very soothing on the skin. Marshmallow extract can be very soothing in gels and creams for the skin, for skin irritations. And I guess the same is true when using it internally as well. Would that be right?
Absolutely correct. Yes, it's a similar property to the slippery elm, so they both work very well together.
Yeah.
A combination of things that really sort of supports digestion overall, but it's particularly important, this particular product, when the digestive tract needs soothing.
Yeah. And then there's a third one in here as well, which I don't know anything about at all. I'd love you to tell me. It's called gamma oryzanol from rice bran. So what is that?
Yeah, it's a rice bran extract. It's a particular kind of chemical, if you like, that's naturally extracted from rice, so another natural one. Sounds strange and a bit technical, but it's really not. And again, it's great. It's a Japanese kind of thing, and there's some Japanese as a kind of herb. And it's, again, great for soothing the tract, for supporting digestion in general, and working alongside the slippery elm and the marshmallow. Right,
so for things like reflux, indigestion, those kind of irritated conditions that can happen from the digestion, would you think that this kind of thing would be helpful for that?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to sort of claim it as a medicine, of course,
but sure.
But certainly that
something
kind
that can support.
Yeah, there is that real need to soothe and provide that mucus, as we've said. So if there is, then potentially this product could help.
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a lot of chat actually again on Instagram, where it was the only place I can see it, talking about slippery elm being helpful for people with ulcerative colitis. There was a lady here who said that she's given it to her dog and it helps. So, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? You know, a lot of these remedies will, cross the animal kingdom, so many things that, like antibiotics or whatever that, we take as humans, we would also take or give to animals. So interesting to see that a lot of these things can be, so versatile. So this is something that you would take. So this has 3 capsules a day. So presumably you could take this at any time. You wouldn't need to take it like with food. This isn't like the enzymes, which are helping actually with the breakdown as we eat. Is the slippery elm something that you would just take perhaps overnight or in the morning?
Yeah, as you need, really. So, and yeah, sorry, I mentioned the powder version, but that's the capsule version.
Yeah, no, sorry, that's my fault. I'm just going to open up the powder version here.
Oh, good.
Because this is... People. Yeah, so the powder version...
Yeah.
Which we've got in here. It's just a very simple powder. But what is interesting about this, and this brings us on to another herb actually, which I'd love to talk about, is aloe vera. Because you talk about the soothing, calmingness of this sort of gel-like substance, and it made me think immediately of aloe vera. And here you've got slippery elm with licorice and aloe vera. I mean, that's an incredibly soothing combination, isn't it? And how would you take this? Do you add it to water or what?
The one little slight warning is that it doesn't mix hugely well, because it's the kind of property of the powders. But stick with it, everybody. Give it some love and work with it, and maybe whiz it up or use a blender, because we've kept it natural, as you say, Liz. We didn't want to put anything nasty in there, so it's just naturally ground down powder.
Just fantastic. It says here actually that you can put it into a smoothie, or you could just mix it into some yogurt. And actually, my youngest, who has to take various capsules of things at the moment, and he's not very good with swallowing that. And actually, it was a nurse who suggested to me putting a teaspoon of yogurt, or even a dessert spoonful of yogurt on a spoon, and popping the capsule on, and then he would just swallow it, just like he would swallow a mouthful of yogurt, and that works really well. So I would imagine this: you just pop a little bit on a spoon with some yogurt, and you can just swallow that so easily, can't you?
Sometimes people put the powder straight in their mouth and whiz it down because they just like the simple technique. But if they're struggling to mix or put it into something a bit thicker, and then it'll form what's called a suspension. So it doesn't technically also work with it. As I say, give it a bit of love, but use it, and use it basically before meals where you might experience that need for soothing.
Okay.
Often, particularly people in the evening. For that reason, because sometimes people don't digest as well in the evening. They have a large meal, they kind of sit around. That's when maybe that kind of discomfort happens. So you don't, unlike with the enzymes, as you say, you can kind of use it as and when you need to, and the evening is sometimes an optimal.
Yeah, lovely. And the licorice, I know licorice as being very soothing on the skin, topically. Talk me through licorice and how has that been used historically?
Yeah, so it's historically used as something that's, for people with sore guts or to support the mucous membranes of the gut in general. So it's exactly the same property. So we're using several herbals here with very soothing and creating that nice kind of mucus that's going to protect the gut, and licorice works really, really well. It's important to say it's what's called deglycerinated licorice, which is a mouthful, which is important because licorice can raise your blood pressure a little bit.
Right.
Component in it, and what we do in these supplements is we take that component out.
Interesting.
It doesn't interact with with your blood pressure and lift your blood, which could be useful for some people and maybe not for others.
Yeah.
You don't want to create any other effects.
Gosh, so this is, it says on here, deglycerinated. There's a new word for today. Deglycerinated licorice in here. Yeah. And again, you've got the gamma erosinol, which we've learned, which is the Japanese rice bran soother. Aloe vera, you've got marshmallow in here as well. And the slippery elm. I wonder whether Lily is trying this. I'm gonna get her to try that. If not, I know she's on slippery elm. But I love the idea of all those other things coming together with that to create something, really extra soothing. Okay, so we've talked about slippery elm, and I now know a lot more about slippery elm than I did before. Thank you. We've talked a little bit about the digestive enzymes. Let's talk about this extraordinary thing. So this is called GI complex. And it has amazing things in it. Oh my goodness. It has vitamin A, vitamin C, zinc, L-glutamine, N-acetylglucosamine, nucleotides, alpha-lipoic acid, and then lots of beneficial bacteria, the lactobacillus, different forms, acidophilus, salvarius, bifidum, and lactis, and then a bit of ginger root. This is giving you 10 billion live bacteria, plus all these other things in here. I mean, this is extraordinary, isn't it? I mean, who is going to need this and why?
Yeah, great. Well, it's one of our more kind of sort of sophisticated, clever products, I think, that we spent a lot of time designing. I think if there was one product for general gut support, just to make it simpler, would be this one, GI complex, gastrointestinal complex. So on one level, it's a really good general, what we call a gut conditioner. And it works across lots of different levels. So if you're not sure and you feel you need some gut support, it's a good one to try. Again, it's a powder, which means you take as much or as little as you like. You can mix it. It means we can make the powders a little bit stronger. Mm-hmm. So we can put amounts, some of those really important things in, like glutamine, which if small amount.
So why is glutamine in here? What's it doing?
So what this is perhaps a little bit more specifically for as well, for people to understand, is what's called gut sort of permeability, where sometimes we have a leaky gut, and it's really to the gut wall and to help it to be fixed. So people who, for example, often react to foods because they don't digest them very well, as per what we said earlier, and we can try the enzymes. But also those proteins in things like gluten products and dairy products. I was
just about to say, people who have issues with gluten intolerance, this would be amazing for that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so if you find you react to certain foods or whatever, then this is what might be happening there is that certain food proteins might be getting into the immune system.
Yeah.
And reacting to them, and that's why you get the symptoms. It doesn't see the food proteins as natural and normal because they haven't been broken down properly.
Right.
So enzymes, another thing we can do is try to fix our gut wall, our mucous membranes, again, as we said earlier, the skin inside our gut that can often be leaky. And what makes it leaky is things like the wrong balance of bacteria in there, if our microbiome's not right, maybe the bacteria that we get in foods. Certain foods like gluten can be a little bit more irritating in the gut. And when the like us, it kind of opens up and kind of wants to kind of engage, and it gets activated. So you get this kind of stress response, if you like, in the gut, that this product can help to calm down.
Really interesting. I mean, it's got so many good and beneficial things in there. I'm hearing quite a lot about alpha lipoic acid from various different people talking about various different things. What is it, and what's its connection with gut health? Yeah,
it's brilliant. We love using alpha lipoic acid. Again, quite a compounding thing, but it's actually a natural antioxidant.
Right.
One of the quenches free radicals, which we produce all the time in our environment and in our body, just from daily life. But obviously with the modern world as well, then arguably our levels of oxidative stress and free radicals are higher still.
Yeah.
Now, else in the gut, there can be quite a high level of this oxidative stress. So alpha lipoic acid is effectively an antioxidant. It helps to quench, block those free radicals that we naturally produce, and it's a really good one. It's what I call the grandfather antioxidant. It can help lots of other antioxidants as well, like vitamin C and vitamin E and coenzyme Q10, which people might have heard of, and iron, which people might have heard of. So you can take things as well as supplements, of course, but alpha lipoic acid, as well as being a fantastic antioxidant in its own right, it also is the kind of grandparent antioxidant that can recycle and create all these other really useful antioxidants. So about protecting the mucous membranes, the quality of the intestinal tract and the wall, and as you said earlier, Liz, sort of helping with that inflammation, helping if there's an inflammatory problem in the gut, helping to reduce that.
Yeah. And how does that then differ from glutathione? Because that's also another key kind of master antioxidant.
Yeah, well, glutathione is something that we produce in our bodies. What happens is the relationship between the two is we make glutathione, and hopefully we do, and loads of it, or we'd be really in trouble. But what alpha lipoic acid does is it helps to recycle the glutathione. So when we've ion to quench a free radical and it kind of is a bit kind of wasted, it needs to have a good night's sleep, and it's actually alpha lipoic acid that sort of takes the kind of dead glutathione, if you like, and brings it back to life.
Oh, I love that. Do you know, I did a nutrigenomic test that long ago, and so did most of my family. And we're found to have the genetic variants that does block the production of glutathione. So as a family, we run on glutathione supplements. And I found them hugely helpful. But to know that I could help to support the glutathione that I'm taking or that we're making, which we know is so incredibly important for things like energy, to have the alpha lipoic acid to help keep that going. I hadn't realised that there was that connection and that the two nutrients work together like that. That's really fascinating.
Yeah, and for people like you, if you've got those SNPs in glutathione, you probably do need glutathione, which is exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
And the alpha lipoic acid will come in and support your natural levels of that and make sure they're up. Whereas for people, it might be that the alpha lipoic acid is enough to give them antioxidants. May not know what their genes are like.
Yeah, and just giving the glutathione a bit of a boost, a bit of support. You talked about proton pump inhibitors earlier, and I know that they are, a really common form of medication. If you are taking that kind of thing, there was a question here on Instagram, can you take these supplements alongside to support, or would they kind of interact?
Yeah, there's no interaction with anything, even the slippery elm where there might be. You might think there might be. There's no interaction.
Great. So you might actually find that you could come off, I'm not going to make any medical claims here, but, you might find that things, improve to such a state that you can actually, maybe downgrade some medication, maybe obviously talk to your doctor, but I know that can happen in cases, can't it?
Absolutely. So these are absolutely safe to try to get more improvements, and then maybe that might do other opportunities to change what you
So I think before we finish, I think what we should do is just recap, really, because there's been a lot to take in here, and fortunately this will be available on Instagram on the IGTV little section, so you will be able to go and re-listen with your Earle Wellbeing notepad No pen yet, but we are working on that because I think there's going to be a lot. I'm going to go back and re-listen to it and make notes myself. And obviously, Facebook, it'll be up there, and YouTube as well. You can replay it. But just to recap, if you are somebody, like me, I consider myself to have, good gut health and no real digestive issues. Occasionally a bit of bloating if I have too much bread, which I love, but I know it's my downfall, or I go out for a big meal. So I'm quite interested in trying the GI complex for this all-round support. And I love the idea of reactivating, resurrecting literally my glutathione by having a bit of alpha lipoic acid in there as well. And then for somebody who has indigestion type issues, maybe issues with digesting food, thinking about the enzymes, particularly with the problem of things like wind and bloating, that's a sign, isn't it, that we're not digesting properly.
Yeah.
And it would probably be far more social for the rest of your household, perhaps, if you are somebody so afflicted or know somebody, you could slip them a couple of digestive enzymes perhaps before a supper. So that's quite interesting, and I'm certainly going to be trying that on the occasions that I think I might need it, and I'm going to get my pa onto these.
Right.
I think as we age, we find that our digestion slows down, don't we? We need a bit more support to help it.
Absolutely, yeah. That is a natural part of getting a bit older. Yeah.
And also, I like what you said about lactose. And for those who are lactose intolerant, then this could potentially be a useful thing as well, because you're helping to break down those enzymes.
Yeah, you don't always know what's in the food you're eating, do you? So,
no, absolutely right. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the slippery elm, I also liked the connection there with gluten-free and how we know that can cause that leaky gut situation where you get these, is it the gluten protein particles that can leak through and then stimulate the immune system in a bad way, and that's what can cause some of the reactions with gluten intolerance. So being able to soothe that to really help to build up that protective coating of the really important intestinal mucus, right, from the throat, as you say, right down into the gut with slippery elm. I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, I think if it's more food reactions, Liz, I'd probably go for the GI just for people. Although you
would you? Yeah.
Yeah. If you're experiencing reactions to foods, if you've got more of a kind of discomfort when you eat and that kind of thing in the throat and the stomach area, the chest area,
right.
The soothing properties of the slippery elm are really, really good for that.
I know a lot of people have acid reflux. I know several friends actually who have that, who find slippery elm really helpful.
Great, yeah.
So I think, and I love all the other ingredients, the marshmallow, and this is the one I think that I'm going to give Lily to try because it has the aloe vera in it as well and the licorice, and I quite like that combination. And the fact that she can have it as a powder, so she can either take it literally, just have a spoonful of it with a bit of liquid, or just on its own, and you get that soothing right from the throat, because it's literally, you're not waiting for a capsule to be digested in the stomach. You're really having it right from here.
That's right, yeah.
Or having it with a little bit of yogurt or something.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Oh my goodness, Chris. I mean, and I know that we're just literally touching the surface of everything that BioCare has.
Yes, absolutely.
My youngest, actually, he's on quite an interesting protocol at the moment, looking at methylation and all these other things that we'll talk about, I'm sure, in the future, and looking at things like liquid zinc, and which I know you have one which is in a dropper, which is so easy to absorb.
Absolutely.
So I'd love you to come back and talk about some of these other things, because it's really fascinating.
Love to do that.
Great, thank you so much. And just before we say goodbye to Chris, I know that there were lots of comments that came in earlier about how brilliant the customer care is at BioCare. So if people go onto the website, is that the best place to connect, to ping messages and
Yeah, we love to speak to us, so pick up the phone in the good old-fashioned way. We have a fantastic team of service people and nutritionists who can speak to you about your specific. Or if you're a little bit, you don't like that, you're a bit more modern maybe, and you like the kind of appy, webby way of doing things, then there's live chat on the BioCare website, either on your phone or tablet.
Lovely. I love a bit of live chat. I think that's great, because sometimes you're a bit nervous, you don't actually want to have a conversation with somebody, but live chat I think is the best of all worlds, because you can be chatting but not have to kind of give too much, and then I think you get confidence perhaps with somebody you're speaking to or with a brand, and then next time you might actually pick up the phone. But I think to get specialist advice and information on the things that you're doing, and I have to say this is a brand that I have personally bought and used for many decades, and you will find many things in my bathroom and in my first aid box and in my kitchen cupboards, and it's a real pleasure to connect with you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for asking us to be on to talk about them.
Thank you. See you again, I hope, Chris. Now you're going to have to click off me, because if I click you off, I think I cut everybody off.
Okay.
Have a great day. Bye. Bye-bye. Oh my goodness, I have to say, I've been waiting to chat with BioCare for a while, and they are just one of those kind of trusted, ethical companies that are not going to sell you a load of rubbish. They are more expensive, but that it's solid. And funnily enough, I'm doing some research at the moment, because I'm writing a feature for the next issue of the magazine about NMN, which has become one of my favourite products, NMN, and that's the one that I get from Youth and Earth, where we also have a discount, which is good because it's very expensive. And I was reading somewhere that it is the genuine NMN, which is this white powder, is something like £1,000 a kilo. I mean, it's unbelievably expensive, which is why you need to be really careful where you're buying from, because can you imagine, you go online, you go onto Amazon or somewhere, and all these things come up, and you've no idea really who these companies are or what is in the capsule. And it could be dangerous, but that would be the worst case. But it could just be nothing. It could be a bit of rice bran with the tiniest little bit of NMN in it. And wouldn't that be a cheap and easy way for a company to make lots of money? So, I always say, be really careful who you buy from. And we are very careful here at Earle Wellbeing. Everything we test very carefully ourselves, and we do a lot of research. And, just if, particularly if it's got a Liz Loves discount, because it says, Liz Loves, it means that, hey, she loves it. So, I'm only going to do that if it is something that has been tested. And so, apologies that sometimes these things are a little bit more expensive than other brands, but it's because you're actually getting the real deal, and, you're getting a lot of knowledge and support that goes alongside that, which is why we always try and get the extra discount. So hopefully it works around for everybody. Okay, I'm being asked here about the mosquito repellent. So that's al fresco. I don't know. I think the al fresco discount may have gone, my love. I think that was just for the summer for the mosquitoes, but they are a great company. I hope that we'll maybe rejig that for next summer. But yeah, al fresco was the natural insect repellent. Really very, very good. Now, before I go, I just thought I'd finish off with a few little bits to really just talk about gut health while we're on that subject today. I've got quite a lot, for me at Earle Wellbeing, this was the Good Gut Guide. This was the start of one of my journeys many years ago when I wrote this book. And it was kind of before there was so much chat about gut health. Now that we know that, it's kind of the root of almost everything, mental health, autoimmune issues, our immune system is really linked so strongly with the gut. It's so important to look after our gut. So that's partly, I think, what started my own journey, and some of the things that I've developed over the years, that we do have special relationships now. One of the favourites, adding good things in, the lovely Mighty Brew. Let's not forget, it's not all about supplements, but having things like kombucha. And I know you love this. And this is the Heritage. So this is it's a bit like pink champagne, but it's non-alcoholic, and it is super good for your gut. And, when I go to parties and events or dinners and suppers, as we're able to be a bit more social now, this is what I take with me. And they have now got the new fermentation, because it really takes a long time to make it properly. It's not just, brewing it up in some industrial factory and shoving in a few, extracts of something. No, these guys, they really know what they're doing, and I love it. And I know that so many of you have loved it too. So I'm delighted just to say, don't forget, if you want to get some of your Mighty Brew, that is making kombucha. We've also got a lot of stuff online. There's a whole section on Earle Wellbeing, because I wrote the Good Gut Guide. And when that came out, there was just so much chit chat about it that we did a whole section on the website. It's called Gut Health. So it's really simple. Just head there. Lots of free resources. There's lots of recipes. There's lots of how-tos, how to make your own kombucha, how to make your own kefir, how to make yogurt. You know, all of those good, healthy things are up there, and they are simple, they are cheap, they are easy to do, and they are really, really helpful. Also, just don't forget to see this if you have got the copy of the current magazine. So this is the current one. That's the cover with a little wee basil on the cover. So here we have got a feature, which one of my favourites actually, it's called Meet the Maker, and it's where we go behind the scenes and we introduce somebody or a couple who are doing things amazingly well. And this, Meet the Maker, is all about the power of probiotics. And this is the makers of Microbes, so Sue and Jeff Allen, and that's their farm. And they produce a lot of microbial supplements to support the gut from their farm, from beneficial soil bacteria. So there's a real interesting in-depth article. If you haven't yet read that, I highly recommend it. I think it's absolutely fascinating. And just to say that I am also really enjoying their particular liquids, which we do have a discount on as well. There's a Liz Loves 10%. I've got 2 here. These are their Microbes. And I just have a spoonful of that in the morning. You know, you may have seen other brands like Simprove and all these sort of liquids. I really like this brand. It's British. This has got 15 different families of beneficial bacteria. And they also add other things. So this is the one that I started with. This is actually an empty bottle. I've drunk all of this, but I just kept it so I can show it to you. So this is the one that I started with, and it's called BioLive Revive. Just a spoonful of that or a capful of that in the morning. That's what I have. And it just helps to repopulate the stomach. It's very good for improving stomach acid, just like Chris was saying. Sorry, I think they're strimming again. I don't know why they wait till lunchtime. But I've nearly finished, so I won't go and bother them this time. They were very good, weren't they, last time? They stopped, which was nice. And this one is the one that I'm taking now, so I'm like halfway through this bottle. This is called BioLive Women. So BioLive Women, which also has not only the 15 families of live cultures, the beneficial bacteria, but 18 traditional herbs and minerals for women's health. So you're getting all sorts. So, and I think as we move into a new season of colder weather, coughs, colds, flus, all the usual kind of seasonal bugs, really important to keep focusing on and keeping our immune system high and strong. This one's also got Lactobacillus rhamnosus, which, as many of you will know, is one of my favourite beneficial strains of bacteria, really strongly connected with female pelvic health. So UTIs, cystitis, that's the one that I turn to, rhamnosus. Thank you, Jane. Really nice that you could be with us. You know, yeah, I just love these chats too. I learn so much every time. You know, it's just so great to be able to connect directly with the brand founders and leaders. And, you know, so often we go into a health food shop or wherever, and we see something on a shelf, but to have the opportunity here to bring it to life and to hear a little bit about it. And don't forget BioCare, care being the second part of their word, they are really good on customer service. And if you use Liz Loves, all one word, all in capitals, on their website, you get 15% off anything. So whether it's these gut health supplements we've been talking about, or enzymes, or, you know, whether it's just vitamins and minerals, then I do really rate them. So that is it for today. Oh my goodness. There is quite a bit of chat and questions here on IBS. Just to say that we have got some really good articles on IBS on the Liz Earle Wellbeing website. There's also podcasts. Don't forget the podcasts. We've done some great ones. Betty, I think maybe on Facebook you can pop a link up if you can find it. There was a great nutritionist, is it Laura, who works in the city, and we did one specifically on IBS. And that was really good. So yeah, if you've got some time and you'd like to take a listen, go to the Liz Earle Wellbeing website. Just put in anything that's concerning you. You know, put in terms like IBS or gluten or lactose or, you know, bloating or whatever, and you'll get a whole load of resources, free resources, you know, articles that you can download, podcasts that you can listen to. There is also my ebook, which is specifically called A Flatter, Happier Tum. Bit of a mouthful. A Flatter, Happier Tum. And as the name suggests, that's all about bloating And that's all about how to get gut health back in balance so that you can get rid of the bloat and you can feel more comfortable and your digestion will be easier. And I think Betty maybe, oh, thanks, sweetheart, you found the link, exactly. That's good to the podcast. And maybe you can pop up the link as well to the ebook, because that is really worth taking a look at as well. Thank you so much for all your kind comments. This is Wednesday if you're watching this in real time, so that means that tomorrow there is a new video going up on YouTube. So make sure that you're subscribed to the YouTube channel if you would like to catch that. Friday, of course, is a big day for us always here at Earle Wellbeing. We've got the Friday 5 podcast going live. Lovely one. Absolutely lovely one with a lady. I recorded it late last night because she's over in California. So I haven't finished it. I just recorded her section last night. You're going to love it. Really, really good. And so that's coming out on Friday. And of course, our newsletter. So make sure that you're on the list. If you'd like to get the free newsletter that comes out Friday tea time, just hop over to the website and sign up for that. And there's lots of fun things for the weekend and the week ahead. So I shall see you live on Monday. Look forward to that. But in the meantime, do check out all the social media channels, leave us comments, and I will definitely be checking my Instagram comments a little bit later on. I don't do direct message, I'm afraid, because I get overloaded with DMs, but I do always look at the comments. Anyway, sending lots of love. Have a great rest of a Wellbeing Wednesday and see you very soon. Bye-bye.